This is Starfield, a game that I think is criminally underrated. Starfield released in 2023 on Steam and Xbox, and only very, very recently came to PS5. Though a commercial success for Bethesda and critically well received, fans rated the game incredibly poorly, and it is currently sitting on mixed on Steam, having previously been mostly negative. Since it came out, lots of people have made videos rightfully clowning on some aspects of the game, and it has kind of been the consensus across the internet that Starfield is subpar at best. When I bought the game, it was initially with the plan to make fun of it myself. However, I discovered something very, very different. Starfield is actually a great game, despite popular belief, and I'm here to tell you exactly why. To preface this, I would like to say that I am not typically a huge Bethesda fan. I have played Skyrim and a tiny bit of Fallout, I'm pretty sure everyone has, but I don't consistently wait for their games to come out, and I don't consistently pre-order everything that they release. So this is kind of a more unbiased take. The first gripe that many people seem to have is the exploration. I would argue back that the only parts of the exploration system which are flawed is the open world planet environments, which are randomly generated, and you are hardly ever there unless you really, really want to be. The comparisons that many people draw to No Man's Sky are fairly valid, as Starfield takes a similar approach in randomly generating an entire galaxy. People are right in complaining this can feel haphazardly put together at some points, as many POIs and locations feel like they were thrown together from random assets rather than being handcrafted like you'd see in a typical Bethesda game. While this is a problem, No Man's Sky has the exact same one, and this is coming from someone who has upwards of 160 hours in that game. And, in addition, while I find exploration interesting personally, and I've spent many hours in the game simply trying to fill out everything on my scanner on any given planet, it is not necessary. The game never asks you to go out and build an outpost or explore aimlessly for hours. Never in the campaign is there a quest or even an achievement that requires you to max out a ton of different planets. And what's more, most of the plot important areas that you will be spending most of your time in and doing most of your quest from are actually handcrafted and well designed, like most Bethesda games. So really this isn't much of an issue, at least when you're actually playing it. And for me, just seeing all the crazy wildlife that Bethesda has come up with is worth it, even if the exploration can be boring at times. I'm really into Spec Evo, and for some reason, a lot of the creatures in this remind me from stuff from The Teeming Universe, which is one of my favorite books, written by Christian Klein. I'd really recommend it, by the way. Now let's get to some of the good stuff. There are 3 major cities in Starfield, as well as many smaller others. The first is Aquila City, shown on screen now. It is home to the Freestar Collective, who has been at war with another faction called the UC for a long, long time. It is kind of Western-inspired, as is the entire faction. The second major city is New Atlantis, shown here. You will be spending most of your time here, at least if you plan on doing the main story or the UC quest, and it is home to the United Colonies, which is basically the largest military power in the Starfield universe. The third and final major city is Neon, which from a design perspective I am fine with. I don't typically have any qualms with Cyberpunk, but it has been pointed out to feel like a theme park area, just some shoved-in Cyberpunk area, and unfortunately I do think that is true. Neon feels weirdly out of place when compared to the rest of the cities in the game, and it's not hard to see why. It doesn't fit the space punk aesthetic hardly at all. This is unfortunate, as the outside of Neon is actually quite promising. I love the concept of a city floating on the ocean, which uses electricity for power. From the distance, it almost looks like a massive oil rig, which is an aesthetic I can get behind and definitely fits the universe better. Now, ship combat and shipbuilding is a huge part of Starfield, and one of the newest and coolest things that the game has to offer. I will admit, I am absolutely terrible at it. I had the difficulty for ship combat turned down to the absolute lowest at all times, but it is very, very cool. Having to operate all of your different systems by using the D-pad makes you feel like a real pilot, and it's pretty awesome. There's tons of activities and side quests to do in space as well. You can almost never leave your ship if you don't want to. Now, a gripe that many people have with the game, myself included, is how lifeless a lot of the cities feel. And while I don't think this is entirely true, I think a lot of them are very well designed, The character models and how they are randomly generated is really weird. Now, I would rebuke that argument by saying, what did you expect Bethesda to do? They can't hand design 100,000 NPCs for each individual city, but unfortunately, most of my complaints when it comes to the NPCs are with their clothing. Why do they have all of these normal civilians wearing whatever most of them are wearing? The hats are the worst part. But honestly, who spends their time staring at the NPCs in the background anyway? Now to the primary thing that most people complain about when it comes to Starfield, the sheer amount of loading screens. I'll just let this footage play out. It's just me traveling from one planet to another, and this is how long it takes.
I picked something up for you.
I've found something for you.
Now, I will admit, that was bad. Like, bad. That was a comically large amount of loading screens and waiting time just to go from one location to another. However, there is a much quicker way to do this. I'll let this clip play out now. It's the exact same journey, just done differently.
I don't think we'll find much worth taking around here.
Yeah, so still not great, but a whole minute faster. Now, I know that game journalists might not know how fast travel works, but I know that most gamers do. So why is this an issue that we're still complaining about? You can fast travel between any planets that you've discovered before, and it takes only a single step compared to like 20. Now to a personal gripe that I have with the game that isn't brought up as much as it should be. It's been brought up before that the main quest of Starfield is terrible, and while I wouldn't go that far, I would say that it is definitely subpar. It's incredibly strange because Bethesda definitely knows how to write good quests. An example of this is a quest from Starfield, the UC faction quest, where you are defending the galaxy from all sorts of different dangers. It's a lot more exciting than the main quest, a lot more interesting, and a lot better written. It feels like this should be the main quest, and for some reason it just isn't. The location I'm showing right now, you would never see if you didn't do the UC quest. This location, Londinian, a city overrun by terramorphs, the most terrifying monster in all of Starfield, you wouldn't see unless you did the UC quest. I think it's as long, if not longer, than the main quest, just light years better, and it's astonishing to me how this isn't something that every player gets to experience. In the main quest of Starfield, you go on upwards of 100 mini fetch quests, but in the UC quest line, you discover a plot to overthrow the entire galactic regime. You stop an alien invasion before it can threaten more civilians. You save the galaxy and countless of people in it. So tell me why the narrative focuses on rock collecting. It frustrates me because this clearly shows the game's potential, and it would be great if this is what players saw from the start, instead of being pushed away by a lackluster main story. If you do decide to play the game, which I really think you should, beeline straight here. Another good thing about Starfield is its impressive variety of weapons and armor. This here is a cutter, a mining tool that doubles as a flamethrower, a minigun, which is pretty self-explanatory. I got it from the UC quest. This SMG that I found in Neon. It fires super fast and is probably the most satisfying weapon to use. A particle shotgun, which I think is really cool and well designed. And finally, my favorite weapon, the Nova Light, a semi-auto laser pistol. Starfield also has a large variety of different outfits, like whatever that was, and this, which is probably the best armor in the game, at least in my opinion. As I mentioned previously, shipbuilding is a huge part of Starfield. You can build pretty much any ship you can imagine completely from the ground up, starting from a single cargo container. These really scratch that hard sci-fi itch, and the designs and aesthetic of the whole game are honestly really cool to me. If you're looking for something kind of NASA punk or more gritty and realistic, then I think you'd really enjoy this game. Now, this is probably the hottest take of the video, but I think that Starfield's skill and level up system is the best of any Bethesda game. I really like leveling up my perks. It makes my character feel much more unique, and some of them, like total mind control or being able to hover in midair, are way, way cooler than anything in other games. You really feel like you're speccing into a specific build, and you can kind of see yourself replaying the game, even while you're just going through the skill tree. Shouts from Skyrim also return in the form of powers. These include things like necromancy, anti-gravity, the dash from Skyrim, personal atmosphere, which lets you breathe in space, creating gravity and pushing people backwards, calming people down, or even seeing the future. There's all sorts of abilities like this, and even though it does get old after a few tries, the temple minigame you have to do to unlock them all is pretty fun. The stunning vistas of these locations would probably make it worth visiting on its own. However, the quest specifically at Paradiso and the Key, which is the pirate stronghold of the Crimson Fleet, are really worth doing and probably some of the best parts of the game outside of the UC quest. I just really recommend you look into them if you ever decide to try it. In conclusion, Starfield is nowhere near the 5 out of 10 game that some people claim it to be. It is definitely not a 10. It has many flaws, but I would really recommend you pick it up, and I will always remember my time playing it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. By the way, in the comments, let me know if you want to see more of Starfield, because I'd love to make a playthrough video on it in the future.